This is my dad's 1976 Les Paul Custom. So I thought it would be kind of fun to interview my dad on when he purchased this guitar and the bands he was in with this guitar. Growing up, this guitar was all over my house. It was just sitting there all the time, and I learned music because of this guitar. And when he gifted me this guitar a couple months ago, I nearly cried. So, there's so much wear, and the guitar is such a beautiful example of a well-loved instrument. And this piece of gear means a lot to me, and I just thought it'd be cool to kind of sit him down and talk about when he purchased it and what it was like back in 1974 to purchase a guitar and be in bands. My dad's a character. He's one of my biggest idols, and I think you'll enjoy the interview.
Was that recording? Oh, fucking. Oh, can't swear. So, what do you want to ask?
I'm gonna ask you questions.
All right.
You can't play it, then it's gonna interrupt with the microphone.
I gotta renew my contract here.
Welcome back to another video. Today I'm featuring my father, James Camerano.
How you doing?
Also known Jimmy Cam, south side of Chicago. That's where you're from, right?
Selling these $4.99 a piece.
So what do you think of me asking to interview you?
I think it's kind of weird, but
Why do you think it's weird?
I don't know. I just think it's weird. You kind of know me.
Yeah, but I think people should know about this guitar and about your story, because
Yeah, but I'm really just a guy.
yeah, but that's
okay.
that's what's so special about music.
Right.
So
See this guitar here? Oh, played it a lot.
tell me about the beginning of when you started playing guitar. So
Wow.
it obviously didn't start with this guitar.
Close to it.
So tell me about your childhood, when you were growing up and
Eighth grade, there was a band in the garage. Kenny Morton was a guitar player.
Okay.
Really good guitar player. Okay.
So 8th grade.
8th grade.
Okay. What year was that?
1974.
And then, what was your first guitar?
My very first guitar was a Gibson acoustic. It was $200.
Fast forward to this guitar.
Yeah.
Why did you choose a Gibson Les Paul Custom? What brought you to this guitar? Was there a player that had it, or did you see it at a store?
I think I saw it at a store.
Okay.
And I just said, that's beautiful.
Okay. So
That's
tell
the
me
guitar.
how you got this guitar.
Well, back in the day, you used to buy things on time. Okay? So you would go in there and you would see the guitar. Say, okay, I want to buy that guitar. Okay, and I'm going to put $100 down on it, and they hold it. There's no payment plan. Could take you a day if you got all the cash the next day, but they're holding it for you. It's on layaway, okay? So I went to DJ's Music, and I saw this guitar, which was what I thought I saw at the time. And I put money down, and I kept making payments. Well,
And how old were you?
16.
What were you doing it for work?
I was working with Papa, doing laboring for the bricklayers.
Okay.
Okay. So I got more money than I thought, and I went to pay it off.
Okay.
But they didn't think I was going to pay it off as fast, and they didn't have it.
So they didn't have
They
it.
didn't have this guitar. I'm like, well, I finished paying off my money,
Yeah.
Well, we have these 2 guitars going to London, and I go, oh, well, I'll. And they kind of him and haw, and I'm like, well, I'm done paying. I have, okay, take one of those. So there was 2 guitars, 2 black Les Paul, black beauties, going to England.
Yeah.
And I grabbed one.
Okay.
Opened it up right there, just opened it up, the pink, the pink felt or whatever.
Yeah.
This guitar just shining like no
Just
tomorrow.
brand.
So I just kind of picked it up like,
So this was
okay.
what year? Now it's 1976.
1976. Then in freshman year,
High school.
high school, there was an acquaintance I met, and they wanted to start a band. So Dave Mackey, Billy Bukowski, and Johnny Novick and me, we started practicing as a band.
What was that band called?
That band was called Mrs. Miller.
Why was it called Mrs. Miller?
Well, we used to practice in Dave's garage. Well, it got to the point that we would just start to walk in there and the police would come. Police would come all the time. They're making too much noise. You gotta stop playing. Making too much. Even in the daytime, it didn't matter. So it got to the point where we couldn't even practice. By the time we cranked up, the cops were there.
Okay.
Well, the kid, so we kind of knew who was calling on us. And it was Dave's neighbor, Mrs. Miller. So we named the band Mrs. Miller.
Mrs. Miller band or
Mrs.
Mrs.
Just
Miller?
Mrs. Miller.
Okay.
Okay? Just to spite her.
Do you remember any
know
Mrs.
what I mean?
Miller songs?
Mrs. Miller song, well, those people who want to rock, was Runaway.
Play a little people you want to rock.
So, Mrs. Miller had a son. Okay, told her, Mom, we found out that he went and said, Mom, we named the band after you. She didn't think that we were doing it out of spite. She thought it was the greatest thing. Never, ever called the cops on us again. We practiced constantly.
And never called the cops.
Never got the cops called on us. So that was Mrs. Miller.
After Mrs. Miller, what band were you in next?
I went to a band called Friends.
Hey, everybody, listen, listen, listen to my music. I said, hey, 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 everybody, listen, listen, listen to my music. Check it out.
It was called Friends and the Improvisations of Rock Funk.
Okay.
That was the name of the band.
Talk about how many people were in this band. You had
There were a drummer, bass player, guitar player, another guitar player who was Randy. James was the lead singer, timbales, percussion. Charlie played sax. So it was 6 people.
wow,
Yeah,
big band.
big band. So here comes this young rocker into this funk blues band.
I've been searching through the years, trying to conquer all my fears, thinking how good things was to me. When I look back, I see the memories of what you used to be.
Well, I added my style and it became rock funk. And they taught me how to improv. They taught me a lot of stuff on that. And we
That was
played.
it. You
Yeah.
played.
We played a lot.
Back to the guitar. What makes it special? What do you think makes this guitar special?
Well,
Because like
it was made in 1976.
Yeah, which
Okay.
which in Gibson world is not the best years for Gibsons.
Okay, it was made in 1976.
But you say that when people pick this guitar up, which when I pick this guitar up, something special about it.
There is something special on the neck. This car's from 1970. How old is this guitar? Yeah, exactly.
I can't do the math.
Never had fretwork, ever,
Yeah,
and it's perfect.
yeah. The frets are pretty much.
No, they're not. No, they're fine.
Okay. The back of it is worn
Back of it's worn
from your hands.
from playing. Back here, little buckle rash and shit. I remember the first time I dropped it. I cried.
When did you drop it?
See that? That's the first time. That was my first scratch right there. That little nick.
Well, when was that?
I can't remember when. All I know is I was like, oh no, my God, what?
Well, I mean, I think it looks cooler now than it probably did new.
Well, I knew it was just shiny.
I know, but
You
look
know
at
what I
it
mean?
now.
It was shiny. All this was white. Wasn't blemished. You know what I mean? It's kind of cool how you can tell how I do the volume here.
Yeah.
And a lot of you can see that I'm not really. I play a lot on this pickup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't play a whole lot on the neck pickup. You know,
Because you're shredding all the time.
I'm not shredding. I just like that. You know, and you get that here, but it's more of a. No too deep for that shit.
Yeah, I like it there.
Okay. I like
So
them both
now
places.
so when I was growing up
Yeah.
and this guitar was in the house, you know, it was never in a case. I don't think it was
No,
ever in a
only
case.
when I
It was
took it
always
out.
it was always just hanging
Laying
around.
around.
Yeah,
Playing.
and I remember when you used to change strings, and this is something you still do, and people think I'm nuts for doing it as well. But you leave the E string on.
Yeah, I leave the string.
You leave the E string on. You change all the strings, and then you come back to the E string. And what's your theory on not taking all the strings off the neck?
Because I don't want to take tension off the neck. Take tension off the neck, it starts to warp.
That makes sense.
So I was taught always leave one string on your tuning, which is the thickest one that pulls the strongest tension. Take them off, change the other ones, bring them in a tune, and then take your E off.
So do you think that's why this guitar's never been
I
it's so
can't-
amazing?
I can't say that. I just truly think that the two guitars that they had going to England, they were going somewhere. I think they were going somewhere special, and they only got one of them, or they got a different one from another store and said, "Hey, we need a Les Paul shipping out."
Yeah.
You know, I think I shocked the two guys who worked there that
You were gonna buy it.
I was done paying
Yeah.
it. You know, my $620 was done. Okay?
Yeah.
And I wanted a
And
guitar.
it's something special.
Yeah.
It really is. There's something so
So,
magical about that
yeah.
guitar. What do you clean your guitar with?
Lemon Pledge. I clean it.
With
I
Lemon
also
Pledge.
with Lemon Pledge. Also,
For how long have you been cleaning with lemon pledge?
since Nani started buying it.
Mrs. Thomas Ogden just dusted, cleaned, shined, and protected her living room table with Lemon Pledge.
Lemon Pledge in a t-shirt.
And a t-shirt.
And a t-shirt. And then sometimes when I wanted to make my strings a little more alive,
Yeah.
because they were dull and I didn't have any cash to buy strings, I would take and I would spray it, and I would take the Lemon Pledge and you hear it, and it was putting oil on the strings because they were dried. Yeah, so I would do that to all the strings and it would make them alive again for a little bit.
Wow. Pro tip.
Yeah.
Lemon
You can
pledge.
use Lemon Pledge, you can use, any furniture polish.
Pledge, lemon or regular.
So why don't you play a little of your favorite stuff? Nice.
Yeah,
I love you.
love you too, man.
That's great.
So yeah, that's pretty much the story.
We
of this
should
guitar.
record something with this guitar. We should bring back a song.
Bring back what song?
A friend song or a
friend
Jimmy
song?
Cam song.
I don't care.
Alright.
I don't care. You want to play it?
Do I want to play? Oh, it's my guitar now.
It is your guitar. And that, you know what? You asked that question. Do I have something special that revolves around the guitar? Yeah, giving it to you. That was a very special time
Thank you.
because I didn't want to give it to you when I was dead.
Well,
Because I wanted to hear you make what I did make this guitar, in a sense, alive for me.
Yeah.
Alive for you. There you go.
Well, thank you.
Very welcome.